What's up guys, Nolan here, and today we're discussing why I, as someone who is addicted to the first-person shooter genre with specifically games like Escape from Tarkov and ARMA 3, am super excited for something on the other side of the gaming world, this upcoming MMORPG, Ashes of Creation. This is not exactly a news segment here guys, this is just me putting a proper heads up on the channel for a game that I'll be spending a lot of my non-Escape from Tarkov time in the future, and pointing out some things that might pique your interest as well, because I'll be looking to start a group in this game, and it will be cool to have some like-minded friends with me. There's two main foundations that have supported my excitement for this game: the people who call the shots and the core gameplay. In those foundations, there's a big crack that is formed, and that is the actual delivery of the project. We will see if that crack gets patched, however, and we're going to discuss that more in a minute. The people, or precisely the person in charge, is one of the biggest nerddom / MMO superfans I've ever seen, and is personally backing the game to completion. Steven Sharif, the creative director of Intrepid Studios, who is developing Ashes of Creation, had massive financial success in his early life that put him in a position to put a fornicating ton of money into something that he is passionate about, since he is one of the biggest nerds that I've ever seen, which is a complete compliment from me, and he's spent the last decade plus getting constantly beaten down by failed MMOs. He has decided to put a small fortune into funding a team to create the best MMORPG experience he could think of. This immediately filled two of the three major concerns for early access games these days: the funding and the direction. The funding for the project was already good from the start, but multiple crowdfunding campaigns bolstered it further, making the man with the plan call all of the shots, period. So there are no big corporations or publishers to screw anything up, which can create massive issues for projects like this. Now, the second thing is the plan itself. If it's not a good idea, then what's the point and who cares? The game isn't exactly accessible yet, so we can't see that for ourselves, but with hours of internal gameplay and interviews with the biggest names in gaming, practically everybody seems to be on board with the current direction of the project. A significantly dumbed down explanation here is that AoC will have a sort of RTS element to it, where on day one, the entire world is essentially blank other than a small starting area around the spawns. The player base is going to create its own world and build up entire cities based on how much they do in a specific area. That specific area is called a node, and each node can grow from absolutely nothing to a small encampment all the way up to a sprawling city based on the activity of the players in that node. The size of the node also affects its surrounding areas and creates opportunities for PvE content like dungeons and raids. There's no lack of PvP content in the game either, because it is actually constant, and that plays a big time role in the core gameplay loop. Players from one node can go to war with surrounding nodes, and entire regions of the world can do the same. The guild content plays into this as well, where guilds control castles, which technically quote unquote control 20% of the world, aka the server. But trust me, that's not as bad as you think. If one node gets destroyed by a rival, then it gives the surrounding nodes more opportunity to grow and activate more content in the area. With over 100 different nodes in one world, all of which with 6 levels of growth, this creates a virtually endless cycle of content. Now, what's genuinely unique about all of this is that if any of what I just said actually worries you, it is very likely that they've thought about it along with a good solution for that. Now, there is some big things about the core gameplay which you might not like, because nothing can make everyone happy. Like for instance, that point about guilds technically controlling 20% of the world, but it's through unique structure placement in specific cities and a taxation system which they themselves as players don't actually get. The taxes only go back into that region, and there's always the option to rise up against them with intricate revolutionary mechanics if you don't like who's in control. Or maybe you don't like the fact that PvP will always be on, but there's a system in place that makes it unique and worth it. Long story short here is that you won't get constantly killed by people because of the negative effects that they would get for doing that. But the full story there would be for a different video because of how much sheer detail there is in it. This plays entirely into the fact that Steven and the team over at Intrepid have practically thought of everything. There's hours and hours of interviews with the biggest names on the internet like Asmongold, Shroud, Summit, hell even Tim the Tatman, with all of them here and there trying to poke holes in the project. And then on the other side of that question, somebody from Intrepid or Steven himself always seems to have not just a good, but a great answer for it. No matter the background of the player, everyone seems to be on board with it once they know the details, and in the future I would like to use my content format to bring you guys those details. Before we go too far, however, there is one massive detail that needs to be addressed, and that is that the game is not done yet. They have the right people calling the shots, and they have the right ideas, but the actual most important thing left to do is to deliver on those ideas. Unfortunately, as with all of the games that I'm interested in these days, AoC has had its fair share of issues in development with delays and difficulties. In those delays, delays and difficulties. Nothing that I have seen is necessarily inexcusable though. It seems like they had a bit of team structure issues a couple of years back, and that has since been resolved. There were some major engineering issues that required them to restart, which we'll see if those are fixed. And they had some poaching from bigger studios to snatch talent, which with a project like this will cause significant problems for those bigger studios, so I don't blame them in trying to stop it. All in all, I would not be discussing this game on my channel if I didn't actually believe it would be worth my and your time. With the first alpha for the project going live sometime in the next few months and seemingly a launch window of the next 2 years or less, we will be able to see if they can deliver on those ideas for ourselves soon enough. However, that is alpha stage 1, and the alpha stage 2, which has no date, is what you can buy into currently. I do not suggest that you guys buy into that alpha unless you fully commit to playing the I'm an adult card, because again, we don't know when the alpha 2 actually starts. I personally bought in for alpha 2 because I'm an adult, but it sounds like I might be able to get into their content creator program as well, which may get me access to alpha 1, but we'll see. From what I've heard, there's an NDA on alpha 1 starting soon, but maybe through that content creator program, I'll be able to talk about certain things. We'll see. So in conclusion, as long as you can find a way to enjoy an MMORPG style combat system, I think you could enjoy Ashes of Creation if they deliver on the promises, and that's why I'm talking about it. So if you guys want to hear more about the project, that is something that I can absolutely do, as there is loads of stuff to talk about. I have barely scratched the surface here, guys. And I know that I will be able to do this around my normal EFT coverage because it's so far out. Speaking of EFT, and since it's the end of the video, here are my playlists for that if you're interested. I also got my Star Citizen list up there for you too. If you are looking for people to level a node with, then join our Discord below. If you like this video, then you know the drill. I really appreciate the people who do. Otherwise, I hope you at least learned something, and I also hope you have a nice day. See you guys.